Perfumes have me in a chokehold. I love smelling luxurious, divine, delectable, fly as hell, but I don't want to always spend luxury prices to get that. And so I stay on the hunt for opportunities to pick something up at a fraction of the cost that will make me feel like my best self. And I'm going to share with you some affordable fragrances that give just that. Everything that needs to be gave for less than $50. You're welcome. Let's get into it. Hi, I'm Jeanique, and I have a confession to make. I stan a celebrity fragrance. Yes, I know, the horror. How can you trust me to review fragrances and I love it? Don't let people lie to you. A lot of these celebrity fragrances are giving what needs to be gave for a fraction of the cost. The way that you have the collection you want is balance. It's balance. Having beautiful things for less than $50 because you want some shit that costs way more. So I'm gonna get into some of my favorite celebrity fragrances because these ones are special. They're beautiful. I love them. And I want to share them with you, especially the ones that I have not talked about in a video before. So let's get started. But first, do me a favor, subscribe, like, comment, do the things, come back for more, because I'm gonna keep having these conversations, the fun ones, about fragrances that smell good, that don't cost an arm and a leg, and you don't want to miss it. So yeah, now we get started. Let's get into it. So this first fragrance isn't part of the list, but is the inspiration for this entire video. I recently picked up hauled Billie Eilish because I tested it. Check out my last video for a longer review because I did a full deep dive into this fragrance in that video where I tested a bunch of new fragrances I had not tried before. But I was so impressed by this vanilla fragrance. As somebody who has a ton of vanillas in their collection, it's hard to get me to fall in love quick and hard. But this one absolutely did with the vanilla, the musk, there is sugar, tonka, there's spices and cacao, all mixed into this beautiful, rich, deep vanilla fragrance that lasts on the skin for a considerable amount of time. I was so impressed with this. It reminded me that I have all of these celebrity fragrances that I rarely ever mention. So we're gonna get into some of those because you deserve to know about them. Yeah, you deserve to know. Now this one is under $50. That's why this one did not make the list. This is a newish enough one that is it's gonna cost top dollar in the $70 to $90 range. But we're gonna get into some more affordable ones that are worth the attention they don't get. So we're gonna start off strong with two fragrances that make you smell and feel real bougie on a budget. And it's these two guys here. You know what it is. Y'all knew this was gonna come, didn't you? It's Elizabeth and James, Nirvana Bourbon and Nirvana Black. We're gonna take them separately, but these two, y'all, if you walk into a Marshall's, a TJ Maxx, a Winners, wherever, and you see these in a clearance section, consider them. Let me just get into what they smell like. So let's start with Nirvana Bourbon because this really stands out. And this is the first fragrance that I picked up from Elizabeth and James. And I was so impressed at first sniff. And with each wear, I'm even more and more impressed with this fragrance. The energy it gives is a real boss bitch energy. It's real bougie, it's sophisticated, it's exquisite, it's beautifully blended. So what is in here? It's not a sweet fragrance by any means. And even though it's been marketed toward women and not as a unisex fragrance, I would say that it is absolutely a unisex fragrance. It brings together cedar, this really dark, rich, full of depth, warm cedar with a little bit of a sharp edge to it that is mellowed out by this not sweet vanilla and this really creamy tuberose. The combination just brings this ultra feminine floral vanilla combination with this really heavy wood to make everything feel super sophisticated and so lovely. This fragrance is hyped for a reason. People love this fragrance and stand this fragrance for a reason. This fragrance is frequently hard to find for a reason, and it's because it is beautifully done for a really inexpensive price. So if you walk into a local TJ Maxx, Marshalls, whatever, and you spot this and you love things like Baccarat Rouge without any of the sweetness, you love a unisex vibe, you love a sophisticated vibe, go for it. Go for it. Don't even think about it. It is wonderful. Now, even though Nirvana Bourbon is the more popular of the two for a long time and maybe even still today, I still prefer Nirvana Black. Look at that bottle. It is beautiful. Now, what is in this? Now, this is sandalwood, not a super creamy sandalwood, but a definite presence in the woodiness of that sandalwood with a very, very, in my opinion, very, very powdery violet note, very cloud-like, very airy, with a little bit of vanilla for sweetness, not a ton. Now, part of the reason I love this is that it feels like an 80s floral that's been updated for the 2020 market. There's something about this that feels very nostalgic and vintage, but for today's market. Like, our imagination of the past when it comes to florals is captured in this bottle because that violet isn't too overpowering. We don't have a kitchen sink floral fragrance where everything is in here. It is pared back, it is stripped back. We have minimal notes in here, but all of the notes work together so beautifully that the fragrance just sits on the skin in the most really like feminine, power woman kind of way. Am I Wonder Woman wearing this kind of? Like, that is the energy of this fragrance. But it doesn't feel overly serious, right? It doesn't feel contrived. It feels really elevated and grown in its sophistication. Now, this isn't for everybody. Not everybody loves a power floral revisited, but I do. I absolutely love that. I stay wearing Cartier's Panthère. That is what I wear. So if you are in the same boat, you love that kind of energy, you're out here wearing Alien, the original, then you might love this too. So if you spot this anywhere, check it out. It's lovely. I don't know if this is common knowledge or not, but one of the most reliable celebrities to buy fragrances from is Paris Hilton. She stays putting out fragrances that smell like a party on your body. And I want to smell like a party on my body a lot of the times, especially in the summer. I stay wanting beautiful, bright, sweet, fun fragrances, and you can usually rely on Paris Hilton to give you something that fits that bill. Y'all remember Can Can? That used to be the thing back in the day. Now, one of my favorites from Paris, I'm not going to show you everything from Paris, but I'm going to show you one of my favorites, maybe more than one, and it is Dazzle. Now, let's talk about Dazzle. Now, Dazzle is a red apple, sour cherry, champagne, with a little bit of floral fragrance. Now think about it. Now think about it. Doesn't that sound like a party on your body? Let's go again. It's red apple. Yeah. It's sour cherry, some floral, sometimes I think like orchid or some shit. Like florals that don't really, do very much. They just kind of help the fragrance to perform better, but they don't really smell like a whole lot. And then champagne is a little bit of vanilla for sweetness and creaminess and all the things. This is such a fizzy, fun fragrance. It sort of feels like a popsicle. It kind of feels like the kind of fragrance you would wear to a pool party in the middle of the day while it's hot out, while you're looking to like dance and have a good time and wear, I don't know, like a yellow swimsuit. Like, that is the vibe of this fragrance. It just exudes lightness and fun, but it does last on the skin. It performs well and it smells and develops beautifully. It's not overly sweet. That booziness and the crispness of the champagne really cuts through a lot of the sweetness. And the fact that they used sour cherry instead of sweet cherry, and we get some red apple. The red apple is doing most of the sweetness work here, but it is so lovely. Now, you have to love an apple fragrance, and that is not for everybody. It is for me, absolutely. And you have to love a cherry fragrance, which again is not for everybody. The tartness is very much there. It's a kick. We don't have a ton of citrus in here, but a lot of that extra balancing work to the sweetness is being done by the sour cherry, but it is a beautiful way to balance things out, and not a super predictable way to balance things out. I remember testing this for the first time around the same time I tested a fragrance from Goldfields and Banks that cost 10 times more maybe. And I was shocked by, number one, how similar they were in terms of what they were giving. But this one was more interesting because we had more balance and a little bit more interest with the champagne and the orchid and all the other things that were happening in this fragrance. And so this is one of my favorite Paris Hilton fragrances. If I want to go to a pool party, beach party, out on a field somewhere to have a good time, this is a fragrance I can pull for and know I'm going to smell phenomenal. Yes, y'all. Since we're already talking about Paris Hilton and cherry fragrances, we might as well stick to the script and talk about this bad boy here, a little cutie called Ruby Rush. Now, this is a newer one of her fragrances, but it is also a cherry fragrance, but a very different cherry fragrance from the last one. Now that one's a lot tarter, fresher, brighter, more sparkly. This is a more traditional take on cherry. So we have regular cherry, we have some whipped cream, some vanilla, we have some florals that are a little bit musky, like dahlia, hibiscus in here. We have a little bit of musk and sandalwood, but most of the work is being done by a very sweet cherry, some even sweeter whipped cream and vanilla, all coming together to create what kind of smells to me like a cherry compote, like the kind of cherry mixture you would do with sugar to put over top of like a cinnamon roll or something. Now this is a very desserty cherry that has, because of that musky overtone and those floral notes, it doesn't smell super gourmand, but it smells like a floral fruity take that sort of incorporates some gourmand elements. Now this is cherry sweetness ratcheted all the way up. If you overspray this bad boy, it will give you like a migraine from all of the, it's so sweet, y'all. It is so dessert sweet, but something about it does not feel super juvenile to me. It feels deliberate and like it's almost provoking, right? Like if you cover yourself in this, you're smelling like a cherry candy snack walking down the street, and if you make that choice, it is a choice. And sometimes I want to make that choice, right? Like sometimes I want to give what this bottle is giving, just a little bit over the top cherry goodness. And I love this, and I wanted y'all to know about it. If you love a super sweet cherry fragrance that mixes things like whipped cream, just a very heavy gourmand elements, but also florals, like all of that balance coming together, but not creating a super balanced fragrance, a super sweet jammy one, then this one does that. And it is so beautiful. It's so pretty. It's so lovely. But remember, don't overspray. Don't do it. This one will choke not just you out, everybody else. It'll choke everybody out. Now, if you want to pick up an affordable Paris Hilton fragrance, but you don't want to wear cherry or you don't want to wear anything too sweet, I still got you. I still got options. I promise this is the last one I'm going to talk about from Paris Hilton. I promise. And it is Siren. Now, look at this cute little bottle, right? It's giving 1920s vibes with this little chain. It's like a woman with a shoulder pad. I love this bottle. I think it's very statuesque, very beautiful. Anyway, what does this fragrance smell like? It is closer to a more classic floral fragrance. It has honeysuckle, so very sort of typical floral elements with some honey nuances. It's a little bit sweet from that. It also has frangipani in it, which often has like a little bit of a citrus element, not a lot, just a little bit of a bite to it, and it offers some balance in this fragrance. It also has a bit of airiness and muskiness because of the frangipani. We also have apricot and peach. No, stone fruit is not for everybody. Apricot especially can often have some animalic nuances to it. Now, I love an animalic note, right? I really do, whether it's found in orange blossom or civet, it doesn't matter. But just to keep that in mind, but that animalic quality does offer a bit of, or add a little bit of sex appeal to the fragrance. It just feels a little bit more sultry because of that note. We have a little bit of citrus in here, but it doesn't do a lot of the heavy lifting where balance is concerned. It's a very sweet mandarin orange. We have some musk, we have some cedar. This fragrance in general kind of smells like a little bit of ambers in here as well. It's very warm in the smell that it gives, but it is mostly this really beautiful evening, sultry, floral fragrance, the kind of thing you'd wear out to dinner at night. It doesn't feel like a fresh daytime powdery balm you'd wear to work. It is a lot, it's giving Siren, right? It's giving feminine, sultry, soft without being overly sweet. It's very sophisticated, and I'm such a fan of this one. It's definitely a special occasion fragrance in my opinion. So this next fragrance gives the exact opposite of Siren. I just need y'all to know that. If that is evening sophistication, this is giving something else. I'm going to explain. So a lot of JLo fragrances get featured on YouTube. People do a lot of videos on some of the gems in their collection. And I wouldn't say this is a standout favorite for most people. And it doesn't get featured often enough. So I wanted to talk a little bit about this one because maybe this is giving something and you don't even know that it's giving it because you have not tried it as yet. So let me talk about this one. This is JLo's Live, right? So is this my least favorite JLo fragrance? Maybe, possibly. Yes, it absolutely is. But I don't think that's because because it is a bad fragrance. It is absolutely not a bad fragrance. It is just a little bit too demure for me. So if you're looking for a demure energy, this might be the one for you. So let's talk about it. So this is a pineapple fragrance off it. Now, y'all need to know I love me a pineapple fragrance. Pineapple fragrances tend to be loud and proud, in your face, a little bit extra, slap you in the face, tropical goodness. They tend to be a little bit over sweet, have like really sharp edges at the back. It's a lot. It's a lot to take in. And I love that for me when it comes to a pineapple fragrance. And we get that initially, right? That really punch of pineapple sweetness and tartness at the same time. It also has red berries, which are real sweet as well. Just almost flat sugar sweetness a lot of times with red berries, but it adds a bit of richness and complexity to the fragrance. However, they then introduce this peony. Now, you might be a peony girly, and sometimes I am. I like peony with the woods. I don't generally love peony with tropical fruit because they tend to dial the volume down on tropical fruit. So if pineapple starts off with a 9.5, peony brings it down to like a 6. You have pineapple with red berries that might bring it up to a 10.3, and the peony is going to bring it down to a 7. So you get to experience those tropical fruit and some of those sweeter fruit without it being overly so. So it's not going in the direction of that Paris Hilton fragrance I said is so sweet it might give you a headache, right? Like, it's not giving that. It is giving you some of those elements and then pulling it all the way back in a way that I think is really balanced, is really nice. But do I want my fragrances to sometimes scream in my face loudly with the tropical fruit? Yeah. And I do wish it was a bit bolder in what it gives. So a lot of the times when I wear this fragrance, because peony pairs so well with woody fragrances, I will wear this with Nirvana bourbon. And the combination, I know, it doesn't sound like it would go, but it does. It does go. It does go. The woodiness of that one with the warmth, with the sweetness and the softness of the peony come together, create like a very unique combination, right? But if you are looking for a fragrance that is pretty and sweet, but also sort of soft and ladylike and demure and very girl next door in the energy it gives, it is the girl next door that really likes to have a good time also. Like, that is the sort of balance this fragrance is trying to create. I think the name Live sort of says that, right? Where it's about balance. And I think this fragrance is trying to create that with sweetness and tartness and softness to the fragrance. I don't always want the balance, but I do appreciate this one. And I think it deserves a little bit more shine for what it accomplishes with what it's doing. The next two fragrances are not quite opposites of one another, but basically kind of in some ways. And they're both from singers that, you know, can sing their asses off. We got Mariah, Heartbreaker, You Got the Best of Me, Carrie, and we got Jessica, I Wanna Love You Forever, Simpson, both on opposite sides giving very different things. I'm going to talk about this one first because let's get through it briefly because I've talked about this in my Tuberose specific video already. It's even in the thumbnail. It's so pretty. I love her. It's also giving Art Deco. Yeah. Anyway, so this fragrance is a green tuberose. So what does that mean? It means it's tuberose with all the wonderful, heavy, silky, creamy texture that tuberose always and often and many times gives us, without over-the-top sweetness that we sometimes get from tuberose, that indolic quality we have. We have a kind of freshness and lightness and airiness to the smell of the fragrance while having that beautiful tuberose texture. So if you've wanted to get into tuberose, like I'd say this is a good tuberose starter because it doesn't go over the top with that like typical tuberose smell, but it has that beautiful tuberose texture. This is the tuberose for the summer, but it's also the tuberose for winter because that texture is fantastic. This is a super affordable fragrance that sits on the skin, lasts a really long time, is not typical, right? Because most of the tuberose you'll find is giving, I don't know, earthy green, or they're giving super sweet tuberose, indolic tuberose, but, and I'm not complaining because I love all of the tuberose, but this one is almost like a fresh citrusy kind of tuberose that is just underdeveloped, not quite ripe, not quite fully formed, very young, very beautiful, very pretty, with all of that beautiful texture. And I love this one as a counterbalance to all of the sweet tuberoses in my collection. And then we have Jessica Simpson's Fancy. Now this perfume, y'all, is okay. I'm gonna tell you what it smells like to me, and then I'll tell you what the notes say it smells like. I don't smell like the notes. Anyway, this smells like orange creamsicle to me. So it smells like, you know, those icicles, those popsicles that have yogurt or cream in them, and it has this really pronounced sweet citrusy smell that is veering towards like candy sweetness, but it's lactonic and full and big. This is a fragrance you want to wear to bed. You just want to be enveloped in it. Like if your whole bed was cushy and soft and just felt real nice and special, and it was all smelling like this and you laid in it, you wouldn't want to get out ever. It's just being cocooned in really like pretty comforting, warm, sweet smells. Like that is what this smells like to me. No, you would think that it didn't have any dimensions or layers and it wasn't complex, but that is not the case. This smells like different variations of sweetness coming together. So yeah, we don't have a ton of like woodiness coming through and a lot of these different florals coming through, but the sweetness that is here just stacks on top of each other, complementing each other without going over the top. This fragrance, can I just say, also the atomizer, look at that, look at that, look at that. It just, was that overspraying? No, it wasn't. That was 5 sprays on my hand, but it wasn't overspraying. Don't check me about it. It just smells happy. That is the word. This fragrance smells happy. It doesn't smell like sunshine. It just smells like a good time, good headspace, good attitude. It just smells happy to me. And it is beautiful for that reason. I don't even need to do anything else than put a smile on my face, and this perfume right here put a whole smile on my face. Absolutely. I'm gonna tell you the notes, even though it doesn't clearly replicate what this fragrance smells like to me, maybe those notes will speak to you. So this is, I would say, apricot. No. Take that back. Pear at the outset. It is pear first, apricot. The almonds are coming through with the creaminess like I was talking about. It smells more lactonic than an almond would normally give. Almond gives cream, it doesn't really give milky. This gives both creamy and milky at the same time to me. It has a heavy dose of gardenia, but nothing too over the top. Like it's playing a sort of secondary position to help the fragrance last longer, have a bit more sophistication. There's some amber in here that helps the fragrance to feel a little bit heavier, like I was saying. There's some sandalwood, some vanilla for sweetness and creaminess. There is a heavy dose of caramel, hence the sort of candiness of the fragrance, but it doesn't smell as warm as caramel normally smell. It smells closer to me like sugar or marshmallow or even cotton candy than caramel. But all of those elements in this fragrance, as they've listed them, the caramel, the almond, the gardenia, pear, red berries, apricot, sandalwood, vanilla, musk, come together to create what I say smells like an orange creamsicle on a stick that you not only want to eat, you want to sleep inside of. And you can with Fancy. Yeah. It's Britney, bitch. Yeah. We're finishing out the show with Miss Britney Spears herself, the motherfucking queen. She stays putting out beautiful celebrity fragrances, and we need to talk a little bit more about them because this is what I'm talking about. This is the epitome of it. So often we walk into clearance sections, we see Britney Spears fragrances, and we don't know which ones to pick. We don't know what they smell like. There are so many of them. I think she has like 37 or more fragrances on the market that we can find out here on Amazon in clearance sections on the gray market, and we should be able to take advantage and know what things smell like. I'm going to introduce you to 2 of them. I should have talked about more, shouldn't I? I'm going to talk about 2 today. I'll come back with more on another one because these are 2 of my favorite ones because they represent 2 ends of a spectrum that are beautiful, lovely, and giving something very different. So I'm going to start off here. we're gonna start with Fantasy Intense because Fantasy itself is such an iconic fragrance, right? In terms of the bubblegum sweetness, cotton candy energy that it has. It is over the top girly femininity that is really fun and light and bright. And this fragrance takes a lot of those elements and really ratchets it up and takes it over the top in some really stunning, beautiful, perfect ways that I am so fucking obsessed with. This is a sexy ass fragrance. Y'all need to know that. This is such a good one. Let's talk about it. So the opening is all fruit and it is pretty, right? This is not a safe bet either. This is not a safe, I'm just trying to like push out to the mass market. Everybody's going to love this fragrance. So there are some elements of this fragrance that I think can be considered controversial. It is just a good one. Let's talk about it. I'm talking too fast. Let's talk about it. Let me slow down. Okay. So in the opening, we have some good, wonderful fruit openings, right? Oh, I'm hot. We have pear, right? So not a jammy, heavy pear like we find in the Jessica Simpson fragrance. We have this really light, airy, barely there pear that just offers a little bit of like interest and nuance and like a lot of pear essence to it. Then we have kiwi, right? Which has like a little bit of a sourness to the fragrance that offers a bunch of balance to the sweetness we're getting from the pear. And we also have this very tropical lychee, which I think is a star player of the opening. It is so intense and jammy and heavy, and a lot of fragrances don't have lychee. So when you smell it, you're like, oh, why don't more fragrances have lychee? It's so good. It's so good. And then in the mid, we get hit with a balance of floral elements and gourmand elements. Like, yes, thank you. We get white chocolate, cupcakes. We get a little bit of jasmine in the back, hitting us hard with this rather crispness and a little bit of greenness in the back from that jasmine. In the base, we get some vanilla to round things out. We have not a light patchouli, but it's not a heavy, dirty patchouli either. It's just like really balanced patchouli that offers some greenness to sort of help out the really citrusy, sour kiwi. The patchouli offers some greenness and body to that. We also have a very heavy orris, which I said in my exact last video. Orris equal iris, iris equal powderiness. It's not really powderiness in this. It's a little bit of powderiness, but it's mostly airiness. Like it creates a cloud around you that feels soft and light, like a cake. Like the cake that's in this fragrance, like it is here. We get some woods as well. We get some musk. The fragrance lasts. I wore this out last week Friday. Just feeling myself looking real good, looking real scrumptious. You know what I wanted to smell like a cake that smells also like flowers, that has patchouli in it, that has some iris in it, that has some jasmine in it, that has some motherfucking lychee in it. This fragrance is so good, y'all. This don't get enough shine. I know we all love fantasy because we all love fantasy. We also love fantasy intimate because we all love a vanilla goodness, but this one is maybe my favorite fantasy because of how heavy and just in your face it is. It does not take any prisoners. Now, if you don't like patchouli, you don't like jasmine, you don't like musk like that, you're not into powder fragrance, this is not for you. I'm not talking to you right now. I'm talking to you. If you see it, get it. Especially if it's cheap as fuck. You will not regret it. And then report back and tell me how much you love it, because you will. You will. This last Britney Spears fragrance, Prerogative, almost didn't come home with me because I looked at the notes and I thought, that's not gonna give, no. Like, it's gonna be a little bit bland, a little bit boring. It's just not going to be my style. I'm not gonna wear it. I've over-relied on Britney to give me sweet, fun, cheerful, happy fragrances that I was not convinced they could give me a coffee amber heavy fragrance and have it hit the way it needed to. But I decided to give it a chance because, you know what, it was cheap. It was cheap. It was real inexpensive. It was real affordable. I was there. I figured, why not? When was I going to run into it again? I gave it a shot. And I have never looked back since. I've never had any regrets. Let's talk about this. At the outset, what you should know is that this is a coffee fragrance. Not light Libre type of coffee. No. It is heavy, deep, rich coffee. You must love the smell of coffee. It is dark and just warm and beautiful. It's a warm, spicy kind of fragrance, right? We have some saffron in here, offering a bit of aromatic loveliness and airiness, right? We also have some red lily doing the floral version of the saffron at the same time. There's pink pepper in here doing work. We have some goji berries doing not so sweet berry work. We also have some apricot here with an animalic I was telling you about earlier. Yes, we have an animalic quality about this fragrance as well. Like, what were they thinking? It's lovely though. It's lovely. And in the base, we have sandalwood, we have amberwood. So again, dark, heavy, creamy, rich. Just a really full fragrance that just fills you up. It is not overly sweet. You mostly, when you start smelling it, the first spray, you get hit with the amber first. You get that warmth, that depth out of it. Then the coffee comes in. We get a little bit of sweetness, not a ton of sweetness. And we have that all balanced out with some really aromatic, beautiful fruit, floral, just some beautiful notes coming together to really build this fragrance out to make it more complex. So this is Britney's take on warm, spicy, coffee, dark, full of depth. And I am so here for this one because I did not see it coming. So often for me personally, and y'all may not agree with me on this, but so often coffee fragrances can be too almost photorealistic in the coffee it gives. Like, I don't necessarily want to smell exactly like espresso. I want to smell like the perfume version of espresso. And that's what this does. By mixing in those aromatics and the amber and the sandalwood, it smells like coffee, but a perfumey version of coffee. Not like I maybe poured a dark roast on myself. And I'm grateful for that because I wear her, I love her, and it just gives me that really sultry, sophisticated feeling I'm sometimes looking for when you want to go to the club. Like, this is not the amber you wear to a nice dinner with the in-laws. This is the amber you wear for a night out dancing. It's sexy, it's dark, it's deep, and so are you. Yeah, same. So those were the 2011 celebrity fragrances that make me feel bad and bougie without being broke as fuck, because they're affordable while being lovely at the same time. You're welcome. And this video, inspired by my Billie Eilish purchase, has inspired my next video, which you should come back for, about my bad gal perfumes. The ones that just made me feel bad. Not so much bougie. Not so much on a budget either. Just made me feel bad as fuck. Just bad as hell. And I am going to share what those fragrances are with you. But if you haven't checked out my last video, because you might enjoy it, I tested a bunch of fragrances, about 12 of them from July to August. I will link the video for you to check out if you want to know what they smell like, because I tested a whole bunch of different types of fragrances that were mostly lovely, that were mostly winners and worth your attention, maybe, possibly, if you're into that kind of thing. And I think you are, because you're here right now. Anyway, thank you so much for watching this video. I appreciate you checking me out and sticking through this with me, and I hope this was useful to you. So the next time you're in Marshalls, TJ Maxx, you're in Winners, you're in HomeSense, you're in Home Goods, you're in a clearance perfume section and you see a gem, you'll know it's a gem because I talked about it. I put you on game like any good reviewer would, right? Anyway, I will try to link everything I talked about if I can find it on the internet somewhere. Wish me luck. Again, I'm Jeanique and I'm wearing Jessica Simpson's Fancy tonight. Not so much because I'm a fancy lady, but because it's the middle of cuffing season and I need an emotional support blanket, and it'll have to do. It's a war zone out here and these perfumes are all that's keeping me together. But I'll see you in the next one. Still together, still smelling fantastic, and still struggling out here in these streets, but whatever. See y'all.
You're the one and only. Baby, you've been on my mind. You know you don't have to be lonely. You can come and take my time. Baby, I've been